Camera's is right in the way where I can see stuff. It's going, alright. Let me make sure it is going. I can't currently see it. Alright, there we are. Let's see if anybody is in the chat yet. I'm just gonna have to cut this bit out. There we go. All right, you gotta give some idle chatter while we wait for a few people to show up.
What? I know.
So far, there's one person watching, but I think it might be me.
Okay. The chat's gonna come up right. Oh, Daryl's here. Oh no's different rooms. No, we're not in different rooms. Actually, we're in the same room.
Yeah, we're in the same room. You're just seeing it from a different angle. Yeah, I'm trying something different so you can actually see both of us speaking. But no, currently nothing is falling apart, although this piece of work by Rocket Monkey was controversial in our household.
And Josh made us Cuba Libres.
Oh yeah, there's drinks. You should always have one when you're talking elegantly about pornography. Now we got a few people here, so everybody, welcome to the Hentai Literature Club. I'm your Hentai Literature Club president. Over on the other camera is Sky Bandit. And today we have an episode focused on one artist by the name of Rocket Monkey, whose name sounds much more innocent than the kind of work they tend to make. Yes, and this is part of season 2, our artist-centric episodes. And yeah.
Is Rocket Monkey supposed to be like a penis thing?
I think so. I've seen before in hentai doujins and in hentai animations where people say instead of like acting like an animal, they use the terminology act like a monkey.
Okay.
And so I guess there might be some cultural symbolism of monkeys as being like wildly erotic creatures. And so when you saw the name Rocket Monkey, what did you think?
I didn't realize that was the name of the author until just now.
Oh. What did you think the name of the author was?
And I immediately thought it was like a penis joke.
Did you think it was Primal? Because that's the name of the text.
I immediately thought rocket penis monkey. I don't know, just like excited penis or something like that.
No, Darryl said maybe they are into Puzzle Monkey Ball, which maybe that could be. What is it? John K. Peta, after all, named themselves after John Carpenter, which makes a lot of sense, as we talked about in that episode when you think about their use of the human anatomy as a suggestion rather than a reality. So yeah, as I said, today is an artist-centric episode. We're talking about the artist Rocket Monkey. And since nobody said anything, I'm assuming everything currently sounds okay.
I didn't bring my notes.
Oh, you want to go grab them real quick?
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so with the text I decided to give as I posted in the Discord. So yeah, if you're not already in the Discord, go ahead and join that. The text I decided to talk about is a tankobon by the name of Primal. And it primarily focuses on 3 chapters at the beginning called Egger Chicken, and the rest of them are single chapter stories. And this is a little different. This is Rocket Monkey's newer work, not the newest work they have, but I think it's their newest tankobon. But Rocket Monkey is known more for being an NTR-centric artist. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, NTR is short for netorare, which is essentially just a Japanese term for cuckolding, or cheating, as it would be. And so, yeah, let's get started. So what did you think of the name Primal when you saw that? Because that's always like the very fundamental formalist criticism, is looking at the name of a text when you talk about it.
Primal was the name of like the entire.
Yeah, the volume.
I guess it just kind of sounds like they're insinuating some sort of your primal instincts or just your base sexual instincts.
Do you think that features in the stories you read whatsoever?
I don't know, would you guys consider just sex in general a primal instinct? I didn't think about it.
I think there is some sense in just kind of getting right into the stories. There's that sort of primal sexual urge that comes into play in the first collection of stories known as Egger Chicken, where the primary protagonist, makes some questionable choices with a mother and daughter, mostly based off of their sexual urges.
I don't know if I agree with the primal senses being in that first story, because I would feel like a mother and daughter would have a primal urge to not have sex with each other.
So getting right into it, do you want to give the summary of the first 3 chapters, which form one story, or would you prefer I do it?
I prefer you do it.
Okay. So the first 3 chapters in this tankobon are called Egger Chicken. And if you are familiar with Chinese cuisine, I believe it's called Mother and Daughter, which I think it might be a reference to the title of this story, is a kind of dish that has both chicken and egg in it. So the reference here being that the story features a mother and a daughter who live next to this young man in an apartment complex, and this young man has recently broken up with his girlfriend, or rather she's broken up with him because she's leaving him for another man.
Because he's boring.
Yeah, because he's boring. And so this mother and daughter feel like they owe a lot to this guy, so they try to cheer him up. And at first it just takes the place of the mom, decides she wants to cheer him up by going over to his apartment, cooking him something, and just listening to his problems, which turns into a sexual relationship. But it turns out the daughter also likes this man, and so she also engages in a sexual relationship with him, and the protagonist feels a little bad about it, but he ends up going along with it, feeling bad the whole time, or somewhat guilty, I guess.
Darryl calls it the classic guy breakup trope.
Yeah. You see that a lot in just, I guess, hentai and erotic work in general. And it results in he ends up confessing to them, and the mother's like, "Wow, I can't believe you've done this." And the daughter is like, "But is it so bad?" And they end up engaging in a polyamorous relationship with each other, with the man being in a relationship with both the mother and the daughter. So rather than picking the chicken or the egg, he decides he wants the chicken and the egg. That's true, Glenn. You do see that in a lot of romantic movies where the male protagonist usually, or the male character in a romance story or like a romantic comedy, has just been broken up with. And so that's the summary of Egger Chicken. Like, obviously, Anaï did not like it very much. Would you like to elaborate specifically on why you personally did not like it?
I didn't like the plot.
The plot? Is it the cheating aspect of it that bothers you more, or the incest aspect that bothers you more?
The aspect that bothered me the most is at the end they were having a threesome.
Oh, with the mother and the daughter at the same time with the man?
Yeah. So the incest aspect and how they made it seem like it was just a normal thing. It's not a normal thing. It's weird. It's unnatural. It's gross.
I've said it before, but I feel like I'm better able to divorce my feelings from what I'm reading, and obviously that'd be a very unusual situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because I am a guy, and I think there is a tendency to identify yourself with the character most similar to you. It's less. I think you being a woman and being a daughter I'm assuming that makes it the idea a lot more gross to you than a guy, because the guy himself is not doing anything weird other than cheating on 2 people with each other. But if you were the mother or the daughter in this scenario, it is typical in most Western and Eastern societies for incest to not be something that you do, especially within your own family.
Darryl said it's a non-fantasy of a lot of guys. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, he says, and the whole I can enjoy the maturity and youthfulness of a person. Yeah, can you try to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who does like the idea of being with both a mother and a daughter? What do you think is the male fantasy in that aspect? Because I have never seen the opposite of that, where it's a woman who wants to get with both the father and the son. Other than in one movie they make a joke about it. I think Step Brothers. What's his name? John C. Reilly makes the joke that that's what the mom is getting together with them for at one point. I'm sorry, I cut you off a little bit.
No, I was just simply going to say I can't really there's no way I can wrap my head around it where it makes sense. I don't get why you want to have sex with both of them at the same time. I guess maybe I can understand somebody wanting to have sex with both people, but at the same time, it's weird to me that somebody on the other side, like the mother and the daughter, would be okay with it.
I'm trying to collect my thoughts a little bit.
What's Daryl saying?
That he's more into MILFs, but not into the idea.
Hmm.
I think that's what it gets into, is if you're into the idea of having sex with a mother and a daughter at the same time. Or I think a more common fantasy is two sisters, especially twin sisters.
Daryl said the whole threesome part is just male greed and lust there.
I definitely think that plays into it.
It is.
But not just in an incest fetish like this one, but in a lot of fetishes in general, there's always a taboo aspect of it, and the fact that it's wrong is titillating to a lot of people. So I think just the fact that a mother and a daughter aren't supposed to have sex with each other is probably part of that titillation within the fantasy, in that it's wrong and you're not supposed to do it. And I think that's a big fetish in general, especially incest, not just in the East, but in the West as well, as step bro porn and stepsister porn has become so popular on Pornhub in the past couple of years.
That's just a way of making it palatable for more people, whether they're step siblings.
Yeah.
Or a stepmom, or a stepdad. I don't like any of that.
Ah, hello, Yusuf. Yusuf said this one wasn't bad. Once again, for me personally, because I suppose I identify with the man in the scenario, the incest situation isn't as weird to me. But I can see, it's like I don't have incest fantasies, but seeing incest pornography doesn't weird me out as much, and I think it's because I don't have sisters, and I'm not the one, reading this story, I'm not the one putting myself in the place of either the mother or the daughter in this scenario, which I think, just due to our genders, might be something that's happening with who you tend to identify within a story. Do you think that's somewhat of a fair assessment?
I think so, yeah. And it's not just, the similarities don't just end there. Like, my mom was also a single mother, and it was just the two of us, so it's weird.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, but going back to like what the appeal would be, I see the appeal in that if you like younger women or women your age, but you also like older women or MILFs, as Glenn said earlier, and you want both at the same time, that might be why you engage in a fantasy where you want both the mother and the daughter.
I think my issue is just when I read, I tend to place myself in the story, even if there's a character that is anything at all like me, it's automatic. And if there isn't, it's just like I'm in there, not necessarily a character, but I'm there. So reading this is just not. I didn't like it.
Yeah. So Yusuf said, I have no inclinations towards my female family members. With that said, this particular tag is something I browse often. So not even just going into the tag itself, do you find the artwork appealing whatsoever?
The artwork, at first I was like, oh, this is nice, I like it. The colored pages were I thought, really well done.
Good evening to you too, Yusuf. I hope you also have your drink ready to bring to the discussion.
Good evening. All of that, it seemed nice. And then even in my notes in the beginning, I was totally fine with it. I didn't mind him having sex with both of them, just not at the same time. I thought once they knew, I immediately thought it was going to go into a threesome, and then it didn't, and I was kind of like, whoa, this is nice. They're not gonna do this, and then they did 10 pages later, and I was disappointed in myself for believing it. But even like pretty early on, there's some cuddling on page 32 with the mother and the guy, and I even noted it because I was like, we don't see that terribly often.
Cuddling?
Yeah, in this kind of situation. I don't know if I can't think of another one that we've seen with it. It was just one little panel, but still.
Ah, I see. Where he's laying down on her chest.
Yeah. And he falls asleep.
I also think the way Rocket Monkey draws body types is a little more realistic than a lot of artists. Like I feel like Rocket Monkey doesn't tend towards hourglass kind of shapes, kind of like the old like Batman and Superman animated series where it's like the women are literal hourglass shapes with tiny
tiny
waists.
Their waists are
Yeah.
smaller than their heads.
Yeah, the to me like the chest to waist to hip ratio is a lot more realistic than you see in a lot of other artist work. And also the way Rocket Monkey draws breasts is also the way they hang is a lot more natural as compared to how firm they look in a lot of other people's work.
There's on page 48 is a good example of that. 48 to 49.
I always appreciate page numbers because that means you read it. That's how you could always tell back in college that a professor was disappointed, is if you couldn't point out the page number. Because then you were just being like, yeah, I kind of remember. I didn't write anything down, but I vaguely remember this.
I had a class once where she was trying to hint somebody to tell the ending of the story because it was very jarring, very different to the whole book. And nobody was saying it, and I was sitting there like, I don't know if nobody read or if nobody wants to say it. So then I said it, and she was like, finally! And it was just that nobody had read.
Yeah, I see it on page 48 and 49.
Yeah, the big butts.
They're big, but they're also realistically big.
Yeah, they're proportionate to their bodies. It's not just like a big butt and then tiny everything else. Also, there was a toy in this one. Have we read another one with toys like this?
I think there's probably been a few, but
Yeah.
in this one it's not very prominent.
It wasn't
But
a focus,
it's right there
like,
actually on page 49 that
Yeah.
she has an anal toy in.
It's not even something they mentioned. It just happened. So it just caught me off guard. I'm a little surprised.
I can't remember off the top of my head, Glenn, the artist who worked on the Batman the Animated Series, Superman, and Justice League. But if you actually look at their artwork of other DC characters, they actually draw them more erotically. I'm trying to remember specifics, but the artist, when they drew some of the sketches that they sell, they actually draw the nipples on the female characters and stuff like that. So you look at those hourglass shapes in the old DC cartoons, and you know that it is purposefully somewhat erotic, I think.
And then the weird positions of all the like superheroes or specifically the women. They're not comfortable and they're not realistic. But so the way I thought the story was gonna go was that he was gonna have to end up choosing between one of them, especially after the mom kicks him out of the house when he's like, oh, I've been having sex with both of you.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were gonna end up making him pick, and that he was gonna pick the mom because at the very, very beginning he's daydreaming about having sex with her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I thought it was gonna go. I would have liked it better that way.
That is an interesting difference between hentai and other Japanese media in the fact that a character would choose, because in so many, especially harem series, it typically ends with the character implying that the chase will always continue and they will never choose.
Mm-hmm.
So in a weird way, it's refreshing to see a choice, even if the choice is I pick both, which is the route I'm sure many people fantasize about taking.
I don't get it.
Also, the mom actually looks mature. She doesn't look. Sometimes you see people who draw MILFs, especially in hentai, and they still look like they might be 16 to 18.
She calls herself an old lady, and I was wondering, she doesn't look very old in general, but then I get also, she's drawn, so you can't see all of that, and also it's a different culture and everything, where old ladies are, I'm an old lady.
A little word again. I do like Glenn's comment, and this is Japan, they don't choose. Yeah, I actually wrote that down in my notes at one point, was that she says, I'm sure you're not like turned on. It's one of the first couple of pages.
I have it 15, I think.
I believe so.
If anything, it's in one of the places So
Yeah, page 15.
Old in Japan is about 25 for females. Exactly, I'm older than 25, so I'm an old lady.
Yeah, that goes into the whole Christmas cake name that they give them. That nobody wants a Christmas cake after the 25th. And so that a woman's value in society gets lower at the moment. She's 25 and still single.
Well, shucks. Too bad for me.
Yeah, you see that a lot, especially in any hentai doujin that's orientated around a character who's a MILF. You always get that line of, "You must not be interested in an old lady like me." And yeah, that's obviously a cultural thing, but you see that a lot. I was trying to find an article that I could post that I read a long time ago that talks about like the rise of MILFs, not just as like something you see in media like hentai doujins, but there's a lot of older women entering the Japanese porn industry as well, and it somewhat has to do with the aging population. People might want to see pornography with women that are in their same age bracket, but also younger men fantasizing about older women. So in a weird way, that line, even though you see it a lot, might not hold much water because...
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. She probably wasn't very old. Darryl said, because what Hitomi Tanka has been officially been put into mature woman porn, she's around 31.
I thought earlier not earlier, but either yesterday or the day before, Glenn, didn't you say that she turned 36 recently?
I'm here waiting for him to live answer.
Oh, yeah, you have to wait a few seconds for them to hear.
Uh-huh. Well,
I wrote it. This is going way back within the doujin before even this first story. That like little opening vignette on page 4.
the daydream?
Yes. Yeah, the daydream. I see that in a lot of the Rocket Monkey stories, especially the ones not featured in this volume. But like the eyes that the woman has in that bottom panel.
Is the hard eyes? I'm
No.
not there, but he did hard eyes a lot.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The eyes in the bottom panel?
Yeah. That sort of like sultry look in the eyes. I noticed that a lot in his more NTR orientated work.
I wanted to ask if you knew if this was the media, because it looks at parts a little like watercolor, but then in other parts it looks like a computer.
I'm not sure because he doesn't mention it at the end of his volume like Milfew does. But this is also the point where I noticed that I like the way Rocket Monkey draws motion. You can see that with the blur lines and the speed lines.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot better than the way a lot of other hentai doujin artists will draw things where they'll draw the action and they'll like they'll put like the same thing slightly higher up but
So it's
faded.
like a double image.
Yeah, I don't. To me, the double image is really weird to look at, and so I like the blur lines and the speed lines a lot more than the double image. I'm not sure how you feel about that particular aspect.
I agree. I think the double image can be a little distracting.
Because sometimes it makes it look weird, like the person has 2 asses or
Yeah.
4 boobs.
Yeah. I do agree. I like this kind of motion instead. Even just the lines. It doesn't even have to connect to the skin like that, but when you draw motion just by adding some lines, I think is better than the double image. And I thought it was funny on page 7, still in the colored pages, how they blur out the clit, but everything else is there. I mean, maybe it's because it's covered in cum, but I just thought it was funny that they blurred out that tiny little part.
Could you repeat what you said about incest, Glenn? Or could you type it again while we're still on the topic of this particular story? Oh, that they blurred out. Yeah, I see the blurred out clitoris.
Yeah.
Other than that, were there any other aspects you that stuck out to you other than simply the fact that you didn't like it? I'm curious about the notes you've written for this story, mostly because that's the central part of this volume.
In the beginning, it was just random little notes like I normally do. The old lady thing I wanted to talk about. Some more misinformation about her womb descending.
Oh.
I was like, maybe they're talking about the pelvis because the pelvis shifts. But
When I actually wrote that on my notes as well. I was like, I bet Anahi has something to say about that.
let's just be accurate. There's enough wrong information about women's bodies out there that I feel like whoever is translating, at least, or whoever's writing this should get the information right. So so people learn. If anything, you can learn something from this. And because I feel like there's too much wrong information out there about bodies, and it should be corrected. I have a question on page.
Yes.
They use this one a lot. The sound effect, the UFUFU. I just want to know what that sounds like.
What page?
There's an example on page 23.
23.
But it's used a lot in this one.
Oh, is it like her speaking? The oof. That's like a sultry kind of laugh.
It's supposed to be a laugh?
Yeah, it's like foo 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 foo.
Okay. What about when it starts with an N?
Foo 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 foo. It's the same thing. It's just the way they use onomatopoeias.
Okay.
That's a very popular one, as well as the ara ara. You probably see that a lot.
Yeah. They do that one a lot in JoJo.
No, ara ara. I think you might be thinking of yada yada.
Oh, I think so.
The yada yada.
One of the little things I really marked was on page 74 when the mom kicks him out, and I was like, that's the appropriate reaction. My note says appropriate reaction. I thought it would go straight to a threesome, but I'm glad it didn't. And then 10 pages later, because that happens on 74, on page 84 is when they're going at it.
I mean, you were right. It didn't immediately go to a threesome.
No, but I don't know. This is not. Maybe I should look at the tags before I read these things.
I mean, looking at the tags on the tankobon that has multiple volumes might not help, just because you don't know what tag's going to pop up in which story.
But if anything, I can at least try to see what's coming. But I like going blind into things. I don't like watching movie trailers and doing any of that, so I don't.
This one doesn't have a lot of tags. Tags are big breast, group, anal, school uniform, glasses, nakadashi, tankobon, milf, female, male, threesome, hairy, muscle, story arc, BBW, drunk, oyakodon, and thick eyebrows.
Thick eyebrows?
Yes.
That's a tag?
Yeah.
Okay.
Haven't you've seen K-On!, haven't you?
No.
Where they talk about thick eyebrows at one point, that for some people that's an attractive feature.
Thick eyebrows got real popular. Because before thick eyebrows, it was the super, super thin eyebrows.
You mean the drawn-on ones?
Yes.
No, Glenn pointed out another common one is the ho 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 ho.
Yeah.
Usually when you see muscle, I assume it's on the female character, but I think this one is in reference to the male character.
He has
a six-pack.
Story? Oh, I thought it was to the other story. With I think he's a wrestler.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, I guess that one too. But yeah, in this one, and I guess in some of his works, the men who are getting some are somewhat muscular.
Oh, I have another note. The note says just no. That's all it says, just no. So I was a little confused, and then I looked, it's page 104. So when they start calling him Papa and stuff.
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too. Should have kept forgotten.
Yeah. Yusuf forgot that we're in the same room. That's why we keep turning. If it looks weird that we're turning up the camera, it's because we're literally sitting at different desks. We're in the computer room this time rather than at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, because the lighting is slightly better because it's all artificial in here.
Mm-hmm. What did Darryl say?
It is odd on page 39 to 40 that they make it seem like it's normal for a girl to wear a t-shirt and a micro bikini as a way to cool down. I'm not sure. I think he's trying to justify it in that moment. That it was like, why is she wearing a micro bikini?
Nobody wears micro bikinis because they're comfortable. It's not. You're wearing one, it's on purpose for something.
The artist Rocket Monkey also likes micro bikinis because they pop up in Egg or Chicken, as well as the one that you mentioned, the one where the guy's a wrestler and his girlfriend's trying to help him get an erection.
It's like a sexy thing they keep saying, no?
Yeah. 104 was the one that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they start calling him Papa.
Yeah.
As I said before, I showed it to you that Rocket Monkey typically does NTR work, typically where it's the woman is the one cheating on the man. But in this one, it's the man cheating on the women, so that's a little different for them. But it also has another trope that you see a lot, especially in hentai doujins that feature older women, especially if they're a MILF, because it's like, obviously, if you don't want the cheating aspect to be in there, the man has to be out of the picture. And so what you usually see is either that they're divorced and the father was a piece of shit and he's gone and out of the picture.
Yeah, that's common.
Or either that or the guy's dead, as is the scenario here.
So there's no cheating.
No, I mean, it does happen, but when it does, then it becomes NTR.
Yeah.
But if you want an older woman in a hentai doujin, what usually happens, either the husband is left or he's dead.
Yeah. So she's not often put in the place where she's out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Those are all my notes for that story.
Okay. I was going to read real quick what they said.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well, Glenn's saying it's common dirty talk in the East and the West, which you don't care for either, but they did come back together. Yeah, NTR, there is no happy ending. NTR makes people sad. People also have really strong reactions to NTR to the point where people just absolutely hate it, which I get if you don't like it, but like people will try to fight people on the internet for posting it.
I think another reason why halfway through, well, no, not halfway, when they started the threesome part, Josh went to where I was reading.
No.
He was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I hate this." I already forgot why I was going to mention that, but I mean, the strong reactions. I don't think I can help it. I think because you said you find it a lot easier to separate yourself from the story and not really react to it. I don't think I can help it.
Yeah, as I said, I've noticed that with a lot of people. I don't know if I'm the weird one or not, but it's not necessarily that I am enjoying what I'm reading, but to me it's very easy to be like, this is a story and I'm reading, and there's that barrier between me and the story. It also happens whenever I talk to a lot of people about like Cormac McCarthy, especially The Road, where a lot of people really don't like certain aspects of The Road, like the parts where baby gets eaten or what happens between the father and the son at different parts. And to me, there's always, I guess I always have that barrier between me and what I'm engaging in.
I feel like if I put a barrier up, I never enjoy the story or the media, whatever I'm consuming. I don't enjoy it as much as when I just throw myself in there, you know?
Yeah.
I can't read, the comments a little too small, can you?
Yeah, it says the Netarari Sari series was like the divisive work. Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about, Yusuf. Glenn said, I have never heard of a happy NTR. The taboo to me is the pain and loss. I know people get off on it. Yusuf said, the more the woman cheats on her husband, the more he feels hopeless. The more hopeless he is, the more erotic his mindset. And the more erotic his mindset, the more he loves her. What a crazy psychological story. Yeah, I personally don't understand the appeal of NTR, but I guess I also showed you the other volume that they had, Junai Trickster.
Yes.
Their tankobon before this one.
Yeah.
And just for those of you who didn't look at that one, I posted it, but I said it's more supplemental reading than anything, just because I wanted to talk about the newest tankobon Rocket Monkey has. And they say, in regards to their volume, they say, how is it? It's full of pervert bitchy girls who enjoy cheating, so let's put aside topics like, do you like this or not? As for me, when drawing this, I was thinking about some twisted logic, like, while being cheated on, if you are able to think of it as a kind of play, then everyone is happy, won't it? Well, how I would have taken it if I really had been cheated on is a different matter. I would be happy if you feel the same way I do. What do you think about that in relation to, I guess, perhaps in general, just taboo tags or things that you might not normally like? Like, people who like things like NTR or cheating might not necessarily truly like the idea of being cheated on.
So what he was saying is when you read it, it's all fun and games, but then when it happens to you, it's not so much, right? That's what he said, basically? I
think that's like the gist of what they're saying. It like there's a separation between enjoying something as an erotic work and having that scenario actually happen to you. And I think even an actual sexual interactions, that's still true, because somebody who likes rape play, for example, isn't necessarily going to actually like being raped.
Yeah. Did you ask what I think about that?
Yes.
I mean, 'cause clearly, I think for the most part, nobody's gonna like being cheated on. But I don't. Maybe it's just because something I don't really enjoy. I don't think I enjoy reading anything I wouldn't really enjoy in real life necessarily. Maybe. I don't know. I don't make that connection.
Mm.
Or disconnect. I don't have that disconnect. Like, I think he means for you to read it with a sense of adding the sense of this isn't real, and
Like, this is an erotic text. This isn't
yeah.
a real scenario that's happening to somebody.
Yeah.
So I have my questions that I haven't typically been asking, because I have my questions are geared more towards when we're talking about tags and artists, as we have been. But in a way, I have the question of how would you modify this story and why, and you said that you would have preferred it. You already answered that, and that you said you would have preferred it had he picked rather than having decided to have
Maybe
both of
even
them.
not just he picked. Maybe if I think best case scenario would have been at the end, they both go, what a fucking asshole, and then they shun him or something. They don't give a fuck about him. They leave him.
Well, it's implied that they like him because he helped them during a difficult time in their life.
Yeah, and then he did something real shitty to them. So, if anything, you can say it cancels out, and then they just go, okay, well, you stay over there, and we'll stay over here, and we're good. Fuck you.
Well, he does mention that he's going to move away, right?
Mm-hmm.
The I have screwed things up so sufficiently, there is no way I can continue to live here.
Dad said, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah, like, once again, this isn't a real scenario. This is a piece of erotic fiction.
I see. The thing is, Daryl, that would be fun to me. Having the ladies go fuck you, and then that would be fun to me. Let's see. At least they actually talked about and made up.
It wasn't like it didn't matter, is what you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was weird when he was like, I want to be part of the family too, and that means I want to have sex with both of you at the same time.
So that was the chicken or egg. Let's go to the next one.
The next one starts out immediately spreading more misinformation.
No, let me get to it.
Let's see, Daryl said most of the time the girls never care.
I think he's referring specifically to within this kind of...
Yeah, and then Yusuf said this displeases me. The less agency of the lady, the less inclined I am. Did I read that right?
Yes. Yeah, he's saying that he doesn't like it when the girls don't care because of less agency.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just, it's so small, I wasn't sure if I missed something.
So yeah, the next one is SML. So how do you say it immediately starts off with spreading more misinformation?
I guess maybe not immediately, but they have the same safe day. It's my first time, so it doesn't matter. That's very dangerous information to be spreading.
Oh, would you summarize this one before we move forward?
Oh, yes. There's 3 guys in high school, I'm assuming high school, talking, and then there's this girl walking in, and one of them goes, oh, I heard she's an M. And they're like, oh, how do you know it? Whatever, you should know, you're her childhood friend. And he's like, who gives a fuck, I think, right? Or I don't know. And then the childhood friend is studying with her for a test. He pretends to be asleep, and she kisses him. Am I at the right one?
Yes.
Okay. She kisses him, and then he keeps pretending to be asleep until he can't hold it in anymore, and then he fucks her. Did I miss anything?
Well, they kind of try to find out whether she is an S or an M, and I think it's kind of implied at the end that she might be a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
she says she is.
I'm surprised you didn't immediately have a note about page 117 where his 2 friends both walk away with boners.
I didn't notice the boners.
I'll go to page 117. What's up, Xavier? So Glenn said, if you want real erotic romantic drama, vanilla is the best place to go. To which Yusuf said, you might not be wrong. In a weird way, yeah, realistic erotic drama is probably best represented in the vanilla tag.
I was actually noticing yesterday as I was reading that I think I like the vanilla stuff a lot more than the other stuff.
Than the crazy stuff I've been making everybody read, mostly you these past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Due to social distancing.
Nobody's been put through Josh's homework assignments, except for me. I don't know if you guys know this, but I don't read this unless it's Josh telling me to read this, so. I'm the only one going through this now. Well, okay.
You make it seem like it's forced.
It pretty much
No,
is.
it's not.
I didn't notice the boners, but now I see it. I was gonna ask, is this a thing men do? They go around
walking around with just hard-ons
No,
like
that's-
it's no business, like it's no big deal.
not that. I mean, discussing what they think somebody else's sexual tendencies are?
I don't think I've ever had a conversation specifically like that, so I would say no. But if you look at that bottom panel in the middle, you can see a girl with a shocked face as the two guys are walking away with erections.
Yeah, I totally missed that. I think it's because at this point I didn't really want to keep reading, so I was just kind of going through it.
It's okay, once social distancing is relaxed, I will force Chaz and Xavier to do this again.
What, can you read the chat?
Yeah, no, it's just Xavier talking about it.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my note. Do people normally...
Talk about this kind of stuff. I mean,
I'm sure.
I think with male friends we talk more about it. I feel like everything I've ever talked about sexually has been hypotheticals. Mm-hmm. Xavier said straight up the first question I was going to ask Matt Mercer is if he was an S or an M.
Well.
I thought you were going to ask him to say it's high noon.
Well, see, the thing is, he has some, like, little moments where there's cute things.
Mm-hmm.
Like on page 141. Wait, I think I might have skipped to the next story. Yeah, I did. Okay, never mind. That was all the notes I wrote for that one then. That one was pretty short though, wasn't it?
It's definitely one of the shorter ones. Yeah, it's a pretty simple exploration about finding out whether you are an S or an M through actual sexual play.
Would Darryl say, I feel guys talk more about bodies. They assume they can force a lady to whatever they want. So what they may be willing to do is not much of a thought. Unless the lady gives off vibes she is sexual. Vibes she is sexual, then guys guess what she's willing to do.
I guess I have had similar conversations to this, now that I think harder about it. But mostly as jokes, because I remember a coworker one time looking at a girl and he's like, I bet she likes to step on testicles. Just because of the kind of boots she was wearing.
I aspire for somebody to say that about me.
That she looks like she steps on testicles.
Yeah. How fun would that be? Not stepping on testicles, I mean. I don't think I'd enjoy that, I think. But it'd be fun for somebody to say that about me. Spotty's coming to mess with Fitz.
Yeah, it's what happens, they're brothers. Brothers mess with each other. I'm sure there's some kind of test you can take online, Xavier, that'll specifically tell you whether you're an S or an M. Or put you on some kind of political compass thing that explains exactly where you fall on it.
Yeah. If you really want to figure out.
So I guess you didn't find much interesting about this one, right? It didn't irk you as much as the last one.
No, it definitely didn't. None of the rest really bothered me as much.
Xavier said, if only because I've seen terrible things done to people and I'd never want to do that to another person, is what Xavier said. I guess in a weird way it's a little realistic that most people aren't hard S's or M's. I think plenty of people would find some aspect in both sides of the spectrum that they'd enjoy.
I do remember, just like sexual, what's it called? I would argue that most people aren't just straight or just gay. I think most people fall somewhere in the middle of that. It probably fits the same with the S and an M. I do remember when I was reading this thinking, why wouldn't she's already kissing you. Why not just pretend you wake up and do what you want to do? I didn't get why he would just keep pretending that he was asleep. This one was called Dumpling Kiss or something like that, right?
No, you're thinking of a different one.
Oh.
This one is SML.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
Yeah, there we go. I was thinking about you being an S or an M, and I like you either way. My love for you is L, so I guess it's sadomasochism, sadism, love, masochism.
What does that mean? That my love for you is L? Is just
yeah, like the letter L.
Okay, but the letter L is supposed to mean love.
Yes.
Okay.
No, and this story, Darryl said, outside of the whole no condom thing, it was a pretty clean.
Yeah.
Xavier said, I understand the context is different. Whereas Yusuf said, X, imagine my predicament when I am begged to provide bruises. But my mentality has kind of blocked me out from it. Ravenglade. Hello, Ravenglade. I've seen a few tests that tell you preferences and fetishes and potential level of intrigue. It gives a lot of information. And then Xavier said, but I'll play along with Dom and Sub.
I didn't notice. I think at the end, right after the my love for you is L, the last little panels is somebody going, I'm home.
No.
It's like, Hara-chan, is she so home? He goes, wait, don't open the door.
I am glad nothing like that has ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Xavier said, I've stated previously I'm a switch, but I think it's more to please my partner than myself. I mean, people adjust to other people. I think that's just a natural part of human relationships is I guess we feel connections to other people and we're more malleable than we think we are.
Yeah.
I'm not specifically sure of the title of this story because I don't think it has an English translation, but this is the third story in the volume or the fifth chapter, and I think this is the one that you were talking more about, was the one about the guy who's he's not a wrestler, he's in judo, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I liked this one. I thought it was really cute.
As I said before, there's not I'll summarize this one. So this one is a story about a guy and a girl have been dating for a while, and they've tried to have sex, but the problem is the guy has a difficulty getting an erection, and they're both young. So as I told Annie, you don't exactly see a lot of stories about young men dealing with erectile dysfunction, which is more common than people think. But yeah, and so the girl is doing everything she can to try to help her partner get an erection, and it's not necessarily in an I need you to please me kind of way. It's more of a like we both feel this attraction for each other and we both want to act on it. So she's trying to help him get him properly in the mood so that they can have sex with each other. And so what did you have to say about this one?
I thought in the very beginning it starts with he calling himself a beast. He goes, we look like a Beauty and the Beast. I thought that was a little sad. And then I thought it was real cute because he goes, I think it was page 141, so the next page. Where is it? He goes, I know I'm not that kind of guy, but I'm going to do this today. And that's when he holds her hand, and that's what I thought he meant. I thought he was like, I'm going to hold her hand today. And then I got to the next page and I realized it's not what he meant, but I still had my moment and I thought it was cute. But again, I think I like this because there was more of a plot. There was an issue, and then there was
Are you saying cheating on a mom and a daughter with each other is not an issue?
no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there is more. I don't know.
These two are also childhood friends.
If anything, maybe we could probably do what we did with the last one in this and pick out the characters of the hero and the journey and all that shit.
What do you mean?
I can't remember what it's called, but the steps, Star Wars 9.
Oh, you're talking about just the Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey?
Yeah. Because it's more. I thought this one was more than just sex. I mean, especially maybe because the issue revolved around not being able to have sex. It had like a bit more meat to it, I guess.
Well, somebody's meat had a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think in general about the whole topic of just erectile dysfunction being a plot point? And I know because obviously erectile dysfunction can be a medical problem, or maybe you have an issue having blood flow to your genitalia, or there can be a psychological block. And so in this one, it's more of a psychological block, where he has difficulty getting it up because he's worried about how he looks and how people think of him when they see him and his girlfriend together.
And that maybe she believes it a little. I think that was
Yeah.
the main issue, that he thought she probably believed it a little, and that she was with him for pity, or not because she actually wanted to be with him. Because that was the whole resolve. She tells him, it's the chat, what did they say?
Xavier said, "Where's the booze at?" The Dakimakura, the hug pillow he bought me over a year ago at this point. I'm not sure I can put that one on camera. Or I think it might be the Bowsette is the one that has the breast popping out. I think the Boozette might be the suitable for work side of the pillow.
I already told him, Max, that we have a pillow you can put it on. That the pillow's literally in the extra room not being used.
Just put the pasties.
But anyway, I liked that the issue in this was a little deeper. It's a little more psychological and made me think a little more. And as soon as he gets confirmation that his girlfriend actually loves him and isn't just with him for pity, it's like, oh, the issue's done.
No. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean, Yusuf, when you say what two deans are behind those. Are they both V's? Xavier said he's read one where the partner was asexual. I've never seen a dojin about an asexual person.
Me neither.
And we talked about a little when we talked about the Futanari one, but there's also just people who typically don't fall into like the male-female gender binary aren't prominently featured in a lot of erotic works.
The C2 guitar.
Oh, okay. He's talking about my guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're not both V's. Okay, now I get what you're talking about. As a quick aside note, I have a Dean Razorback, which I just knocked a little bit, and that's my electric guitar.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I bang the other one like a genius. And the other one is an acoustic Flying V. This is my first guitar. But yes, they are both Deans. I guess they get deeper into the whole, yeah, it's an unusual guitar, an acoustic Flying V. But I fell in love with the Flying V shape the first time I ever saw a guitar, and so, of course, my first guitar was an acoustic Flying V, even though, if I'm being honest, it is not a stellar acoustic guitar. I still love it nonetheless.
If anything, it has sentimental value.
Yes.
Yeah. But like saying they both wanted to please their partner, I think that's, probably a good story. Maybe we should do that one next year.
I have something that is perhaps less egregious to you planned for the next episode.
Okay, because I was going to say maybe you should Maybe we should.
Like, you don't have to show up for the Shindal episode at least.
I already said I'm gonna be sick that day.
No.
But as I was reading this one, I thought maybe it's nerves or it's pressure or, you know, why is his wiener working?
Yeah. Well, as we said, like sometimes erectile dysfunction can be a psychological block. But it was a funny story at the time. But I remember being in high school, hanging out with one of my cousins, and he was talking about one of his friends used to watch a ton of porn, and he used to jerk it multiple times a day, as many teenage men or teenage boys do. And that when he finally had the chance to have sex, he had difficulty getting it up because it didn't live up to his expectations that had been established by pornography. But I think that's something that can happen to young men, and that you perhaps have some kind of psychological block that can make having intercourse difficult. But that is slightly different than exactly what's happening here. But I can see how, even though it might seem unusual that a young man would have difficulty getting it up, that is a somewhat realistic scenario, especially if it stems from, in this case, body issues.
Yeah.
He thinks he's ugly, or that he is not physically attractive.
You know what you should have done? You should have put yours or higher or me lower so that we're the same, so when we look at each other...
It looks more normal.
Yeah, you know?
I studied literature, not aesthetics, so you'll have to forgive me.
Because I think it looks like we're looking... Yeah, like we're looking out... Doesn't matter.
Glenn said that can happen, but schools make it sound like it will happen. I remember that in high school. Yeah, I think also that he was also very nervous about actually having sex for the first time in that story that was related to me.
Again, because of misinformation being spread out. Porn and sex, sex doesn't work exactly like it looks like in porn. Maybe if we had better education.
Yeah, this is the one also where you have the micro bikini.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what do you think about the aspect of the partner being the one trying to help her? She's trying to help her partner get an erection by doing things she think might turn him on.
I thought that was really trying to think of the right word, but maybe not sweet, but just very considerate. She's trying. She knows he feels bad about it. And she's doing her best to help out, and she's not pressuring him. She's just trying to do her best to make him feel comfortable and make this a better experience for him. And I think that's nice. Maybe why this one should have had the 3 parts instead of the other one.
I mean, the other one needed 3 parts because you needed the chapter for the mom, then the daughter, and then, of course, both.
Okay.
Also on that chapter, on page 150, he talks about how much he appreciates the lengths his partner goes through to try to help him.
Which I'm sure. 150 you said?
Yes.
Which I'm sure is one of the reasons why he realizes that he really is enough for her, and he's not, I don't know, she doesn't think he's ugly and whatever.
He also ejaculates without having an erection, which is also something that can happen. I guess if I could, I would want to ask the author how much of this, when you were writing this particular story, did you kind of just write it as by like a seat of your pants kind of way, that you kind of wrote it page by page? Or did you actually do some kind of research into like difficulties people might have with getting erections and stuff like that? Like, did he do some research on erectile dysfunction and things like...
Do you think this is something you went through in some way?
I try not to project that too much.
I mean, I get it, but it's always fun. Okay, the next one's the one I was talking about with the why won't it he just wake up?
Would you give a brief summary of this one?
That one is...
Steamed Bun Kiss is the name of this one.
Which when I read the name, I was like, oh, this is cute. I wonder how it relates to the story. And the story is two, again, childhood friends?
I think so.
Two childhood friends together studying, and the girl's trying to get the guy's attention, and the guy is trying to decide what the girl thinks of him, and he pretends to be asleep, and she kisses him, and then kisses him more, and then gives him his tea like that, which was weird. And then he wakes up and then has sex with her. And then at the end, he's like, oh, maybe you should be my girlfriend. There wasn't much to the plot other than that, really, was there?
I don't think so. Do you recall specifically what the Steamed Bun Kiss related to?
Yeah, she hides and pretends to be asleep, but...
Oh, and she looks like a little steam bun.
Yeah, she covers
remember.
herself with the covers, and it looks like a little steam bun. Which made me want some steam buns.
Some bow.
Yeah, some bao.
They also have a bit of an issue where he's unsure if she sees him as a potential romantic partner because they've been childhood friends for so long, and she's like, why doesn't he see me as a potential physical partner even when I'm dressed like this? I actually think this is the first Rocket Monkey story I ever saw. When I was looking for people to talk about.
They both had the same thoughts about each other, like, why won't they see me like this? But they both saw each other the way the other wanted them to see them. Does that make sense? I don't think that makes sense, but they both liked each other, and they were both, why won't they like me? That's why communication is important. But again, so I didn't understand why he wouldn't just, because when he's pretending to be asleep and she kisses him, he goes, oh, I was pretending to be asleep to see what she thought of me, which, how does that make sense, but okay. And then he just keeps thinking. He says, I thought that if I pretend to be asleep, I could figure her feelings, but I didn't expect this. And then he goes, oh, she keeps kissing him, and he goes, this is page 167.
Okay.
He says, oh crap, isn't this situation getting harder and harder for me to wake up? No, it's literally making it easier. Just wake up, and then, or wake up and then you make out and keep doing whatever the fuck you want. But clearly, now you know she likes you.
I think you also forget that there might be another fetish at play here, which is some people have a fetish of having sex with their partner while they're asleep.
But there's no consent, there's no consent in that one, because she's just kissing him. You're just asleep. I get it if you're already dating, like sure, whatever the fuck you want to do. But what if he doesn't like her and she's just making out with him, feeding him tea? Would X say, even if you want more, you can't be sure it'll bear fruit, it'll ever bear fruit? Is that to the story? Is that to
Yeah, I think he's talking about, like, even if you want more out of a relationship with somebody, you're not sure anything will come out of it.
Yeah, but at that point...
Also, there's the level of teenage awkwardness.
She was already making out with him.
You underestimate the awkwardness of teenage boys in that self-doubt of, perhaps she's still just being nice to me.
Daryl said some people don't care about that part. The consent part, I'm assuming, is what you're talking about, Daryl. I know, but I just don't get it. She was already making out with him.
She might have just been being nice on me.
How could she gave him tea through her mouth, which is dangerous too. What if he chokes if he's actually asleep?
Maybe that's just what they do in her family. I'm not saying I would think that. I'm saying you'd be...
You just said maybe that's what they do in her family, so you're saying they're feeding each other while they're asleep?
Like little baby birds. I'm not saying that's really what would happen. I'm saying that, yeah, as Glenn said, not just teenage boys, but teenage girls. I think you underestimate the supreme awkwardness of that age now that you've left it.
I do get the awkwardness. My point is that it's already happening. How do you... How do you go? I wonder if she likes me while she's making out with you.
You would
At
be
that point.
surprised.
Maybe if they're awake, I can see how you could doubt it, but he's asleep.
Maybe it's a prank.
Oh my god.
I know you're hung up on that aspect of it, and I'm saying, yeah, you see, Glenn is also saying people rationalize all types of stuff.
I mean, yes. My other note was on the careless appearance when he says it's slight slut shaming because of what she's wearing.
No, on what page?
165. It's not like overtly mean or anything like that, but
What's with that careless appearance of hers? I was desperate to keep a straight face. I think that's also probably like you said slut shaming, but also like the cultural thing of like women shouldn't dress like that. People
Yeah.
might look down your shirt.
Yeah. Because
Not saying I agree with that line of thinking, but
yeah, it's not slut shaming per se in this situation, but he calls it careless appearance. It's just wearing.
see, look, Xavier said, yeah, it's for a TikTok. That's why she's doing all that weird stuff to him, where girls make out with their best friends.
Oh, that was a thing. That was a thing that's happening on TikTok. Did you know about that, Judge?
No, I don't have Chinese spyware on my phone.
Look, let me explain it to you. It's so fucking dumb and irritating. And it'd be a video of the girl or the guy or whatever saying, "Oh, I've been friends with this person for so long. I really like them. I wonder what their reaction will be." And then they just go and kiss them, and then normally they make out. But it's like,
Maybe he was thinking this might be for a TikTok on a.
I don't think there's TikTok in this story.
I'm sure Japanese people also are allowed to download Chinese spyware on their phones on a.
Yes, but I think the story was before TikTok.
Glenn said, so seeing your friend wear something that would possibly get her that kind of attention can be a concern. I've done that.
But this goes back to teaching women that what they're wearing is going to bring that kind of attention instead of teaching men, hey, keep your eyes somewhere else, bitch.
So on page 178, Rocket Monkey drew an incredibly sloppy looking blowjob.
178?
Yes.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
With the nose bubble and the little mouth bubble at one point.
Stretched face too?
Yes.
Is it that one? Yeah, that one was weird. It was a little different than the rest of the art, which is why it kind of really popped into my brain because I thought.
Well, it's kind of like a fisheye lens the way it's drawn.
That's what I was gonna say. It looks like a fisheye, which I hadn't seen, and I don't think he does it anywhere else in this story. In the whole little, what's it called, dojin?
Yes. Which is I was gonna say that's interesting when you think about it that an artist would draw in a manner to specifically emulate a different media. So fisheye lenses are a type of camera lens, and so that distorts the image a certain way. And that's an interesting interplay of media to think that creates a certain effect that you then want to emulate by drawing in a way that simulates that sort of rounding effect that happens with a fisheye lens.
Yeah. They're still talking about the clothing and the...
No. Yeah, Xavier said, I can see how a conservative place like Japan can have that kind of mentality. Also for the guy, it might be, I don't want anyone else looking at you kind of way.
Yeah.
Glenn said, because for guys, it's more how they act and certain attire of clothing, like thin, tight shirts or hip-hugging pants. Hell, I've seen guys get on guys that don't normally wear uniforms, you trying to get a lady's attention. For both sections, there are cues to attract.
I see how, clothing is used to some manner to attract attention, but that's not always the case. But I do get it. I mean, obviously that's how it's used in this story. She purposefully wore that to get his attention. Clearly, he was trying to be respectful, not look down her shirt. But it's not always It's not always the case in everything. I think all my other notes are for the next story.
Okay. Would you like to tell the class about the next story?
Hold on. Xavier said not always, but we have no indication of otherwise. And Darryl said shaming is judging, saying that they are doing it is wrong. Concern is worried something bad may happen. Yeah. There is a line. It's just sometimes a little hard to tell where it is between judging and shaming, or what is it? Between being worried and judging. I explained this one. It's your turn. Are you drinking? Eating? Are you
Yes.
Eating?
I have a little beef jerky in my mouth if you wouldn't mind doing it.
The next story, I don't remember what the next story is, again, some classmates talking about their
Ideal woman.
ideal woman, and each one is describing it, and then one guy goes into extreme detail of what their ideal woman would be, and like extreme detail, and they're like, you're never gonna find that. That's not realistic, it's too specific. And then lo and behold, here she comes in their same class, and she's been there this entire time, but she changed herself to be what he wanted because she likes him, and that gets his attention, obviously, and so they become like fuck buddies. That's not that's not what they call each other. Sex friends?
Yes.
And then he realizes he wants to be more than just a sex friend, and she's wanted that the entire time, I think. Yes?
Yes. She's like, what do you think I was trying to do, you big goof?
I had a little bit of issue in this one because I had a friend that did that. I had a friend that every time...
She would date somebody, she becomes who that person wants.
Yeah. And it wouldn't even be a slow process. She would just immediately change into her personality, the things she liked, the kind of stuff she'd wear, even her manner of speaking. And she was also super, super smart. But she realized that that wasn't a quality in high school. She realized it wasn't a quality that other boys liked very much, because she wasn't dating stars, that's for sure. So then she dumped herself down. She'd make herself be the person that they wanted, and every time they'd break up with her, she'd be devastated and her rebuilding would be dating somebody else and rebuilding herself to be that person's ideal. So I just saw an issue with that.
How do you think that compares to the fantasy scenario that is being presented to the reader here, though?
Well, he has a long list of qualities.
Smaller than me. Voluptuous breast, shoulder-length hair, uses a hairpin to make it even cuter. Wearing a sweater and a miniskirt is an absolute must, but also be better if she doesn't cover her legs.
And then keeps going.
Yeah. Well, that's the one at the beginning.
Yeah, but right after that, he adds like two more things, and then the people.
Oh, and her personality must be, yeah.
Yeah. So it goes beyond his list is not just appearance-wise; it's also personality-wise. So he's listing up these things, and then this girl's listening to it and slowly changes herself to be this guy's ideal. And it just makes me think, if he didn't like you before, he liked you until you changed to be the person that he wants you to be. That means he doesn't like you. He likes who you're pretending to be. You know? I don't like that. You're not yourself. You've become a shell of a person for somebody else's entertainment.
That's definitely an extreme example of it, but I would argue that in real life, just about everybody alters themselves slightly for their partner.
That is accurate. I mean, especially when you spend so much time together, it's something that inevitably happens because you tend to mimic the person. But it's different because in that kind of thing, it's to get people to like you. You mimic things that they do without even realizing it. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a scientifically proven thing. You mimic what others do to get them to like you. But that's like and that becomes a slow process over time where when you're with somebody, your personality may change a little bit, your interests may change because you're blending in, but the biggest difference there is both of the people are changing. Both of the people are changing to be a little more alike. It's not just one person fully changing themselves to be what this other person wants. What's the chat thing?
Well, Yusuf made a joke that said, before I met my girlfriend, I was incomplete. Now I'm finished.
That's bullshit. I know it's a joke. But it's one of the things that I don't like where people say, you're not just that joke specifically, you're not a hopeful person until you're with somebody else. That doesn't make a healthy relationship. You have to be sure of yourself, and you have to be sure of the person you are before you can be with somebody else and really have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
It's my view of things.
Yeah, I would also argue that you are not ready for a relationship until you are a complete person in and of yourself.
Yeah.
It also starts off as a joke, though, with the whole sexual aspect of it. He says there's no way a girl would love me or be interested in me, so he, I guess as a test, he's like, it would be awesome if a girl just let me sleep with her right away. And that's when he finds the vibrator controller. But just something you also see a lot in hentai doujins. You were also talking about toys. You felt like you didn't see toys that often.
I liked that part. I thought that was funny, where she leaves the little controller for him, and he's like, what the fuck is this? And she's over there, dealing with what he's moving around. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, you see that toy specifically a lot in hentai, the little egg vibrator that has a controller. Especially in like a kind of BDSM context where I guess, I'm not sure if you would consider it BDSM or, what's it called? Exhibitionalism.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of times it's the couple is out in public and the man is in control of the vibrator, essentially teasing the woman in order to see if she can make her break by having a sexual reaction in public.
Yeah.
Xavier said, in today's day and age, that isn't the case, unfortunately. Everyone has something wrong with them and they are aware of it.
But that's okay. You can have things wrong with yourself as long as, you are aware and you know you have to work on those things, but you have to be aware of your position and how you're dealing with things in order to have a healthy relationship, I think.
Yeah. No, Yusuf said, Heigl would ask how you are aware you are a complete person unless this is reflected back at you in the eyes of those you seek validation in.
I guess the way, it's not so much, I guess I phrased it wrong in saying you have to be a complete person, but I think you have to be okay enough with what you present, what you bring to the table. You have to be okay enough with yourself. You can't go into a relationship trying to think, oh, this person's going to build me up, or I'm going to go change that person, because they're not at 100. So it's not, because nobody's ever going to be 100% sure of themselves, I guess. Yes, that's a good point. But you can't go in expecting that person is going to make you, I don't know, can you help me out?
I feel like you were being forced to answer for what I said, because I think I was the one that specifically said that you should be a complete person before you try to find completion in other people. I guess I don't see things from a Hegelian perspective. I'm not sure if you would consider it stoic or not, that you see not necessarily completion within yourself, but you have an ability to self-analyze, or I guess self-reflection might be a better word, in order to look at yourself and say whether or not you are able to find, trying to find a way to say without using the word completion.
I know it's difficult to talk about, it's difficult to explain.
I would not say I'm a Stoic, but I would say some aspects of Stoic philosophy have helped guide who I am. Yeah. There is always an aspect of self-reflection where you kind of look at yourself and say, is this the person I want to be, and am I able to be sufficient on my own? It could be something as simple as being able to cook and provide for yourself, but also the ability to face problems as part of being alive and existing within the world, and being able to confront those problems on your own without having to look to somebody else and expect validation or a solution to your problems out of somebody else rather than yourself.
If anything, like, you're okay with your existence by yourself, and you don't feel the need to have somebody with you to feel okay of yourself. Can you read the chat?
Yeah, I know. It's because you're looking at it on OBS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have YouTube open, so I'm able to see it bigger. Yusuf said, I am not much of a Hegelian myself. I just wanted to throw that out there to engage discussion. Yeah, I understand.
It's good.
Xavier said, you don't need to be 100% to be good enough. And Yusuf said, there are many boys who are trying to accrue manliness, and many men who are petrified that they are boys. And Xavier said, sometimes just trying to be better makes you good enough.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's because it's hard to ever say that I am a complete person. I have reached the end of destiny. I have reached the end of the journey, the destination. I am.
Because that would be unrealistic.
Yeah. I am a man. I am an adult, or I am a woman. There is always room for growth and change within people, but I guess being able to recognize that to be able to direct yourself in that area without needing somebody else to, I guess, steer your rudder, or however you want to put it.
Like, I don't think people that are fully dependent on somebody else for not just even survival, just for basic needs or things, but also for their personality and the things they like and things like that. I don't think you should be looking for a significant other in that situation. I think you should be working on yourself for you to be happy with who you are, and you to be able to maintain yourself, and in order to have a healthy relationship. Because otherwise, then I think you end up depending on the other person a lot, and then it's an imbalance in the relationship.
That face went so close to the senpai label. Xavier then says, like, I know I gotta work on myself much as I let on about how great I am, but looking back and seeing at the progress I've made as a person lets me know I'm on the right track. But kind of taking back to the story and the...
I forgot about the hentai.
No, I mean, we use things like literature to help us engage in discussions that move beyond the text.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very natural thing to happen. But on page 194, the male character says, are you really okay with this, Sakamoto-san? And she says, it's okay because I'm a pervert. Do you think that's a genuine statement from her, or would you argue that's also just part of her trying to become the person she thinks he wants her to be?
I would argue that her as a narrator is not a reliable one, because she's very clearly trying to portray herself as something that he's going to like. So I don't trust what she says to be either possibly her ideal or his ideal. So, yeah.
I guess working with the media of a comic, though, the fact that the panel focuses on her mouth as she's saying it, and she's kind of smiling as she says it, it's okay because I'm a pervert. I feel like if the artist changed it so that she was frowning or seemed hesitant as she was saying that, I would argue that perhaps she is lying about that statement, but...
I would probably say she would have to be at least a little bit of a pervert to be able to go through with this fully. Because if she weren't, then she'd be like, okay, well, this is I like this guy, but this might be too much. She's clearly enjoying herself. So yeah, but I think even though she looks content, just the fact that she's saying it makes it still more, for me, unreliable. If she were thinking it, I think it was more possible for it to be true. Just because she's saying it, I consider her an unreliable narrator.
Yusuf said Hentai Literature Club is intersectional in its academic disciplines. I would argue that no field of academia, at least, well, not even, I was going to say at least in the liberal arts, but I think even moving past into STEM, like mathematics and science, no section of academia or thought or the liberal arts or even the STEM fields exist in a vacuum. Literature will always be influenced by the history that it is created in, or the time period it was crafted within, and the things like philosophy or...
Math might exist in a vacuum.
But mathematics is applied to the sciences, isn't it?
Yeah, but math is, you can get a pretty accurate yes or no. Like if you put 10 mathematicians in some place and ask them to solve this problem, they're most likely going to come to either the same answer of this very small margin of error, when you compare it to others.
I would argue at a certain level that's true, but I would argue when you start getting into the realm of theoretics, you are going to be influenced by other fields with how you approach problems.
But see, all other fields base on math. So yes, but I feel like out of all of
that
them,
maybe math exists in a vacuum.
not fully, but partly, yeah. At least the most out of all the others.
What about when you use math to create art, though? Like you use things like the golden ratio. Is math then not being applied outside of something within itself?
No. I think because math, I think the core of math is pretty vacuum-like. But then, you can spread it out for it to include a bunch of other stuff. But I think the core of math, I think we're getting very out of topic. No.
I was going to say I think that there might be, not necessarily some truth, but when she says it's okay because I'm a pervert, I was going to ask if maybe steering in the opposite direction of what we were saying earlier, do you think there's some aspect of self-discovery that you find when you interact with other people? Do you think that perhaps she might be a quote-unquote a perverted person, but that aspect of her has yet to be explored because there is nobody to explore it with her, and there might be truth in her agreeing that she is a pervert?
I mean, yeah, I think just the whole matter of, you're meeting somebody else, you're going to see what they're like, and that you're going to see how you respond, and you're always going to learn something new interacting with somebody that you don't know very much, even people you do know, because they're different, and so you're always going to learn how you react, and you're going to see what your boundaries are and things like that. Yes, so maybe the her pervertedness is something she's discovering. But what was the point? What was the main question?
That we were speaking about how the idea of, I guess, self-reflection or self-sufficiency as something that the two characters, at least one of these characters, is not engaging in.
Mm-hmm.
But perhaps is there the opposite of that, and there is self-discovery by being with somebody else.
Yeah. So the main answer to that is yes, there's going to be self-discovery because she's doing new things and she's learning where her boundaries are. She's learning what she likes and what she doesn't like even. But my point is, I don't think we are learning from a reliable source what her actual boundaries and thoughts are. So yeah, but then also, like I said, she has to be at least a little bit of a pervert to be going as far as she's going with him. Somebody's talking about math. Can you read it?
Ravenglid said, for math, the drive to create or discover an equation or solution could be affected by the time period in which the need for such is occurring.
So then yes. So then I guess I'm wrong. But I think maybe the extent of what we can learn is affected by the time period we're in. But as we keep moving forward and learning more things, we realize. But there's always going to be something that can crush what I'm thinking, because even though science is science and there's facts and there's truths and there's very clear things that are true and there's very clear things that aren't true, there's still people out there that think the earth is flat. So, I'm here doing this and I turn and look at you and you're scrolling through the
text. I'm trying to find the next point where I wanted to take the conversation to.
Xavier said, like arches
for stone construction.
See, even back when there wasn't as much knowledge and technology and helpful ways to learn, a lot of the basic math are things that we use now because it's still the same, if that makes sense. And if anything, what we learned, even though they weren't exactly sure what they were doing, they were still using that math to now, it's the same math, but now we know the reasoning why. Like now we know the formulas and why it works and all of that. I can see you smiling. What's up? What did you find?
No, just in the text, I was going to ask you, how do you think everything that we've discussed so far relates to the ending of this story?
Was the ending him asking her to be his girlfriend?
Kind of. It ends with the three friends again talking to each other about like what they find ideal.
Oh,
and it's changed somewhat where one of the friends is like, I really like the home economics teacher. She's so nice and open-minded. Whereas the other friend is like, I can't get enough of this new
page?
idol.
Page?
Oh, page 212.
Thank you. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
And then they look to the friend, and they're expecting him to give his long-winded explanation about what he likes. And that he says, no, actually, I have a realistic ideal too. At that time, various ideals came to my mind, but it's someone shy who would go to such lengths for someone like me. I would be happy with that. In the end, he says, in the end, someone who loves me for who I am is my perfect ideal woman.
But she doesn't love her for who she is. She loves him. He loves her for what she's willing to do for him, for how she's willing to change for him. Still goes back to the same thing for me. What about you? What do you think?
Well, there's also a difficulty in the fact that your point of entry for the story, the narrator, is viewed through the lens of the male protagonist as compared to the female protagonist. So, I guess there is a gap in presentation of who you can view through. But just as a small aside, that the friend who says I like the newly debuted idol Rian Chan.
Yeah.
That's the protagonist of another series of doujins that the authors worked on.
Well, that's funny.
So in the end, now that we've essentially gone through this whole volume, what are some of the unifying themes you've seen through many of these stories that you think is a reason they were published together in a single volume?
Honestly, those first 3 chapters were very different to the rest of it. It was trying to be sweet kind of at the beginning, because I thought all the rest ended up being at least a little sweet in some aspect. But what's unifying? I don't know, I can't think of one thing that they all have, other than obviously like art style and things like that.
Well, I would argue that there's an element of, I guess, trying to help other people through sexual means. So you have the mom and the daughter in the first story are trying to help this lonely man who's helped them before by engaging in him in a sexual relationship, although it doesn't start off as they don't intend, at least the mom doesn't go in intending for a sexual relationship.
Who's trying to help who in the last one?
Who's trying to help who in the last one?
In the last little story chapter?
I guess that one might not fit as well, but I think for a lot of the other stories there is.
Darryl said deep, familiar, like Juan's body types, sexual healing. Well, I guess, yeah, sexual healing in different, slightly different meanings of sexual healing, I think I agree with that one the most. Which is kind of what you were saying. But I think sexual healing is a little broader than how you worded it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, even the last one. I guess
it's
a healing of his ridiculous.
You're saying in the last one, right? The last one was the one that didn't fit as well.
Yeah.
It's through engaging in him with a sexual relationship, she allows him to understand that rather than I need this list of things in a partner, somebody who loves me for.
But see, he still gets those lists of things. But I get it. But I think, if anything, that one's slightly more of an outlier.
Would you say that it fails thematically?
In my opinion, slightly.
Was that able to jog any ideas that you might have about thematic connections between them? There is that element of the discovery that I wasn't sure if Glenn was the one that said that. I guess discovering other people through sexual relationships. and not just in I guess trying to understand people in a way too. It's like the first story is trying to figure out what's bothering somebody else. The second one is trying to discover whether somebody is a sadist or a masochist. The third one is trying to figure out why somebody is having difficulty getting an erection. The fourth one is trying to find out whether somebody sees you in a romantic context or not. And the last one is just, I guess.
See, the last one's slightly an outlier. Even though you're pretty much just pointing out, the issue in the plot. The obstacle you're trying to get over. But the last one's still an outlier.
I think it's similar, just it goes about it a slightly different way.
Okay, what else? What else you got for me? What other question are you gonna throw at me?
What do you think is essential to a Rocket Monkey story from what you've seen? What are the essential elements? I would start off with the voluptuous body type.
Yeah, I was gonna say other than body types.
So I took the easy answer first.
I gotta think about it. I don't know. It's just the first 3 chapters were so different. I keep getting.
They're all you can think about.
Yeah, I either think about the ones I really didn't like or the ones that I thought were pretty okay. I don't know. You took the easy ones.
Well, I'd also argue an aspect of sexual exploration with somebody. Even in the first 3 chapters, it's a subplot, but they explore with anal sex.
You got some virgins in there too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you could draw an argument either from one text by itself or the text as a whole? Like something like a point the author is trying to put forward?
I think it'd be a lot easier if I had to choose between one of the stories other than instead of the whole thing.
Why don't you pick your favorite then?
Pick my favorite?
Yeah.
I think my favorite was the Beauty and the Beast one.
Even in all of them, I would argue there is an argument for communication. Because even in the chicken or the egg story, the protagonist is being duplicitous and not.
I think they all have communication issues. In all the stories, there's communication issues. So maybe that's something one of his stories has to have communication issues.
At least in relation to this one, like I said, his previous 2 tankobuns are a little different.
Are you going to talk about how you wanted me to read the other one, what I did?
Yeah, you noped out after the first actual page. Was it because it had an old man?
Yeah. It was too gross. It's just too real for me,
Yeah, we didn't talk about the NTR aspect of his earlier works as much, but that's also a big thing in NTR is like a younger woman cheating with an older man.
But even, because in the very first actual page of content in there, she looks a little iffy. She's like, oh, I was kind of doing this to get back at somebody, and what am I doing now? And then it just felt too gross because I can't help but put myself in that situation of being somewhere with an old man touching you, and it just brings back gross, and that's why I immediately went, nope, no thank you, goodbye. I didn't change the page. I didn't want to see anymore. Yeah,
but as I was saying, that's a very popular trope within the NTR tag, which I suppose someday we'll have an episode about.
Sapphire. What do you do? What do you say when you put your
nose goes?
Nose goes. That's the same thing as sapphire, right?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times there's an aspect of like the young man that the woman is partnered with is sexually inadequate. And he might even have issues of erectile dysfunction, or he has issues with premature ejaculation.
And like Xavier said, his hands feel like leather.
And so she ends up in a scenario where it might be the man's father, his grandfather, his boss, his older coworker. He's like, "Oh, how was your sexual relationship with so and so?" And he's like, "I bet he's not pleasing you. Why don't I show you what a real man can do?" And then the man gets cheated on, and the girl's like, "Well, this is fucking awesome. Why would I be having sex with such a chump?" Yeah, so like I said, this tankobon of his work is pretty different from his earlier ones. Because in a sense, only the first one has any real aspects of cheating within it.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course the old man always has a huge penis.
What are we doing next time?
What are we doing next time?
Something nice.
I'm trying to find the name of the artist real quick.
If not, I'm opting out of it and getting Xavier to do it with you.
I will get Xavier to talk about the more fucked up things, because I know Xavier he'll have some things to say about it. Here we go. The artist I want to talk about for the next episode is called Syokaki.
Is it easy?
So I would argue that Syokaki tends to work more within the vanilla genre of hentai.
What are the tags in the thing we're gonna rate?
I don't think they have a tankobon specifically, so I was going to pull out some of their stories to talk about.
Okay, can you just read me one sentence?
Soul female, soul male,
Okay.
defloration, and hairy. Although I don't see how the hairy one really works out. I guess the pubic area.
Yeah.
Here, I'll give you the other big one that also has soul female, soul male, MILF, hairy, sweating, BBW, virginity.
We didn't talk about how this one. He draws a lot with the sweaty. They comment on the scent, on like smell.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the first one, but it's not a lot. And but they draw a lot with sweat, and then in some of the instances they were in the shower. That's another thing. He had a couple of shower scenes. So, but who was the other artist? I liked how they did the sweaty and the smells more.
Milfew?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I feel like I didn't notice the sweat aspect as much, just because Milfew is so prominent. Whenever I think of like sweaty looking sex scenes, I'm gonna think of them.
Yeah, but if you notice, if you look through it, it has a lot of sweatiness and the water aspect. But I do agree. I like Milfew's sweatness more.
It's glossy.
Yes, that looks nice.
Well, now that I've set the artist for the next episode, I think that's a good point to stop it. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed our fun little conversation, even though it had some perhaps minor detours into philosophy and then whether or not mathematics exists in an academic vacuum.
I don't think it fully exists in an academic vacuum, but I think the base of it is more than the other stuff. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This was episode 20, so I think I was going to take this artist-centered stuff till episode 24 or 25. So soon we will do the last episode of this season, which will be Emergence by Shindal. And Xavier will be forced to talk about it with me. And with that, thank you for coming to the Hentai Literature Club and hanging out and talking with us.
No?
Yeah.